Michael Bennett stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, gazing at the San Francisco skyline shimmering in the late afternoon sun. At 52, he had everything money could buy: a multi-million-dollar tech empire he built from the ground up, a sleek Tesla parked in his private garage, and the respect of Silicon Valley's elite. Yet, something felt missing. An emptiness he couldn't quite name. Across the city, in a modest apartment above a local bookstore, 25-year-old twins Jason and Alex Parker sat beside their mother, Sarah, in her hospital room. Cancer had spread faster than anyone expected, and now, time was slipping away. Sarah's once radiant face was pale, but her eyes still held the same determination that had carried her through years of hard work: double shifts at the diner, late-night study sessions that help her sons earn scholarships to UC Berkeley. "Mom, please," Jason whispered, holding her frail hand. "Lately, you've been talking about our father more. We're old enough now. Who is he?" The question hung in the air, heavy with 25 years of mystery. Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she glanced between her boys, so different in personality yet sharing the same strong jawline and piercing green eyes. The same eyes she had fallen in love with all those years ago. "Your father," she whispered, reaching for a worn leather journal on her nightstand. "Your father is Michael Bennett." The name hit the twins like a shockwave. Everyone in San Francisco knew Michael Bennett, the tech mogul whose face was on magazine covers, whose company, Bennett Innovations, was revolutionizing artificial intelligence. They had walked past his headquarters countless times, never knowing their father was inside. Alex's voice shook. Why didn't you ever tell him about us? Or tell us about him?" Sarah's hands trembled as she opened the journal, revealing old photographs and newspaper clippings. "I was 22, working as a junior software developer at his first startup," she began. "Michael was brilliant, driven, and married. When I found out I was pregnant, his company was on the verge of its first big breakthrough. He was working 18-hour days, fighting to keep his dream alive and his marriage together. I couldn't be the one to tear that apart." Tears filled her eyes. "So I left, took a job across the city, and raised you both on my own." The twins sat in stunned silence. All those times they had seen Michael Bennett on TV, read about his success, and admired his philanthropy. He had been their father all along, living just miles away, completely unaware of their existence. "He's hosting a charity gala at the Augustine next week," Sarah said softly, pressing the journal into Jason's hands. "I've kept everything about him, hoping one day you'd understand. Maybe it's time he knew the truth too." That night, back in their apartment, Jason and Alex pored over their mother's journal. Every page revealed another piece of a life they had never known. There was a photo of a young Michael standing proudly outside his first office, a converted garage in Palo Alto. The same green eyes that stared back at them from the mirror each morning looked out from those faded pictures, full of determination and dreams. "Look at this," Alex said, pointing to a newspaper clipping from 1999. "He almost lost everything that first year. The company was 3 days from bankruptcy when he landed the Watson contract." Jason frowned, scrolling through Bennett Innovations' website. "He's giving the keynote speech at the gala," he murmured. "Something about bringing AI education to underprivileged schools." The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Their father was fighting for education while his own sons had grown up clipping coupons and applying for every scholarship they could find. Alex sighed. "We can't just walk into the Augustine. That place has a 3-month waiting list, and the gala is invitation only." But even as he said it, an idea was forming. Their mother had taught them that with enough determination, anything was possible. It was how they had made it through college, how they had built their own careers. Jason as an environmental lawyer, Alex as a pediatric doctor. Notification popped up on Jason's laptop, an article about Michael Bennett's recent divorce. The twins exchanged glances. Their father was single now. The marriage their mother had tried so hard to protect had ended anyway. "We need to find a way into that gala," Jason decided, his legal mind already working through every possible angle. "Not just to meet him, but for Mom. She's carried this secret for 25 years. She deserves to know what happens next." Alex nodded, a plan already taking shape. "I treated the daughter of one of the Augustine's managers last month. Maybe," he let the thought hang in the air, the possibilities stretching before them. The next morning, Michael Bennett followed his usual routine, his private elevator, his schedule packed to the minute, his mind always on the next big move. But something was different today. A feeling, a restlessness he couldn't shake. Instead of taking his Tesla, he told his driver, "I'll walk today." As he strode down the sidewalk, lost in thought, he nearly collided with a young man rushing out of a coffee shop, medical scrubs peeking from under his jacket. "I'm sorry," they both said at the same time. Green eyes met green eyes. For a fraction of a second, Michael felt something strange, something familiar. But the young doctor hurried away before he could think too much about it. Inside the cafe, Jason froze, his coffee cup halfway to his lips. He had just witnessed his brother nearly run into their father. Michael Bennett had no idea. That evening, Jason sat at their kitchen counter, staring at an elegant cream-colored envelope. "Remember that lawsuit I won last month? Turns out the judge is on the Augustine's board. He was very grateful for my help." He slid the envelope across the table. 2 invitations to the charity gala. Alex let out a breath. "We're really doing this?" Jason nodded. "Yeah, we are." The next day, they visited Sarah, bringing their newly tailored tuxedos to show her. She smiled, proud but wistful. "There's something else in the journal," she murmured, pulling out a folded letter. "I wrote this to Michael 25 years ago but never sent it." Jason unfolded the pages, his throat tightening as he read. "Dear Michael, by the time you read this, our sons will have been born." Her words, full of love and fear, changed everything. Across the city, Michael stared at a photo on his tablet, Dr. Alex Parker, featured in an article about Bay Area Children's Hospital. His heart pounded. The name. The face. Something was about to change. Neither Michael nor his sons knew it yet, but in just a few days, their parallel lives were finally about to collide. Jason watched as a steady stream of employees exited the gleaming tower in the distance. The city lights reflected off its glass facade, a symbol of success and ambition. "Tomorrow," he said firmly, "we'll find out everything." The Augustine shone like a jewel in the evening light. Its grand Art Deco design was highlighted by elegant copper sconces that cast a warm glow over the entrance. Inside, Alex and Jason stood in the opulent lobby, their rented tuxedos making them look as if they belonged in this world, even if only for one night. The polished marble floors gleamed beneath crystal chandeliers, and the soft hum of San Francisco's elite filled the air with anticipation. Restaurant manager approached them with a friendly smile. "Mr. Parker, Dr. Parker, we have you seated at table 7, he said, gesturing toward the grand dining hall. The room was filled with round tables draped in luxurious cream-colored silk, each surrounded by the city's movers and shakers. "Mr. Bennett will be at the head table, of course," the manager continued. "He's running a bit late. Something about a last-minute conference call." Jason slipped a hand into his pocket, feeling the weight of their mother's letter and the journal they had debated bringing. In the end, they had decided it was important to have them here. Alex's phone buzzed with a message from the hospital. Their mother was stable and resting comfortably. A small relief in the midst of the night's tension. As they took their seats, they couldn't help but notice the details around them. The silverware gleamed under the soft lighting, and the wine glasses let out a delicate chime when touched. Their tablemates were young professionals, a software engineer from Google, a biotech researcher, a venture capitalist. The kind of people they might have grown up alongside if life had taken a different path. "Did you read the latest profile on Michael Bennett in Tech Weekly?" the venture capitalist asked, eager to impress. "They say he's planning something revolutionary in AI education. The man sees connections where others don't." Alex and Jason exchanged a glance. They were about to make a connection that would shock everyone in the room. The venture capitalist mistook their silence for interest and continued. "Bennett has this uncanny ability to remember every employee's name, every little detail about their lives." A ripple of excitement passed through the crowd as photographers gathered near the entrance. "He's here," someone whispered. The twins felt their hearts pound in perfect synchronization. They stood instinctively as Michael Bennett entered the room, moving through the space with effortless confidence, shaking hands and greeting guests by name. Up close, the resemblance was undeniable. The same tall frame, the same way of tilting their heads when listening, the same slight smile that never quite reached their eyes when nervous. "That's unusual," Thomas, a longtime employee, murmured. "Mr. Bennett is wearing his father's watch tonight. He usually saves it for board meetings." The twins followed his gaze to the vintage timepiece on Bennett's wrist. Then, they looked at the identical one in the photograph tucked inside their mother's journal. A reminder that the past was never truly gone. It ticked steadily beneath the surface of their lives. The room fell silent as Michael stepped up to the podium. Adjusting his notes with the same precise movements Alex used in surgery, with the same care Jason put into his legal work, he began. "Good evening," his voice rang out. "Tonight, we're here to talk about second chances." The words hit the twins harder than expected. In Jason's pocket, their mother's letter felt heavier than ever. They had planned to approach him privately after the speech. But fate had other plans. A commotion near the entrance turned every head. A nurse burst into the room, scanning the crowd until she found Alex. "Dr. Parker," she called out urgently. "It's your mother. You need to come now." The entire room froze. Michael Bennett stopped mid-sentence, his face shifting as he processed the name Parker. Recognition flickered. He repeated the name under his breath, as if trying to place a distant memory. "Sarah Parker," he whispered. Alex was already moving toward the door, his medical instincts in control. Jason, however, stood his ground. He pulled the journal from his pocket and met Michael's gaze. "Yes," he said, his voice steady. "Our mother. The woman who worked for you 25 years ago. The junior developer who disappeared without a trace." Michael gripped the podium, his knuckles turning white. "The coffee shop," he murmured, looking at Alex. "The journal at the restaurant." His eyes flickered between them, taking in every detail, every similarity. "Twins," he breathed, barely audible. Gasps rippled through the room. The venture capitalist at their table had stopped mid-sip, his wine glass suspended in midair. The photographers lowered their cameras, sensing they were witnessing something far more personal than a corporate gala. Alex turned to Jason. "We need to get to the hospital. Now." Then, looking directly at Michael, he added, "She's been asking for you." For the first time in his life, Michael Bennett hesitated. The man known for making split-second decisions stood utterly still. Then, without a word to the hundreds of guests, he stepped down from the podium and walked straight to his sons. "My car's outside," he said, his CEO authority blending with newfound paternal urgency. "Let's go." As the three of them climbed into the sleek black sedan, the weight of 25 years hung in the air between them. Michael sat between his sons, holding the journal open in his lap. His hands trembled slightly as he read their mother's unsent letter. "She never wanted to hold you back," Jason said quietly. "Your company was taking off. Your first marriage was already rocky. She thought she was doing the right thing." Michael's voice was rough with emotion. "All those times," he murmured, staring out the window. "All those times I walked past that park, something told me to stop. To look." He turned to Alex. "You have her kindness in your eyes." Then to Jason, and her way of standing up for what's right. The car pulled up to the hospital. But before they stepped out, Michael reached into his wallet and pulled out an old, worn photograph, a picture of him and Sarah at a company picnic, laughing at some long-forgotten joke. "I've carried this for 25 years, he admitted, never knowing why I couldn't let it go." As they stepped inside the hospital, 3 sets of identical footsteps echoed down the hall. They weren't just walking toward Sarah. They were walking toward the future they had never imagined possible. Michael's voice was steady, yet filled with emotion. "Mom always believed in earning what you have. That's why she made sure we got scholarships instead of accepting charity." His eyes reflected both pride and understanding. He realized now that by telling him about his father, Sarah wasn't looking for an easy way out. She simply wanted both him and his brother to succeed on their own terms. He glanced around the ordinary hospital room, seeing it in a new light. "But maybe there's a way to meet in the middle. Alex, you mentioned the children's ward needs updating." The next few hours passed quickly as father and sons worked together, their shared DNA evident in the way they approached problems from different angles. Michael's business expertise blended seamlessly with Alex's medical knowledge and Jason's legal insight, creating solutions that would benefit not just Sarah, but countless other patients. Suddenly, Jason remembered the gala. "We should head back to the Augustine." Michael waved him off. "Jennifer's handling it. Some things are more important than charity galas." He paused, looking at his sons thoughtfully. "Though we might want to plan a different kind of celebration soon, a more private one." Sarah woke to the sight of the 3 most important men in her life, huddled over laptops and papers, working together as if they had been doing so all their lives. "My dream come true," she whispered, drawing their attention. Michael moved to her bedside, taking her hand. "Sarah, I want to help with their software project. not as a CEO or investor, but as their father. They've created something truly remarkable, something that could change lives. Sarah smiled, repeating the words she had said earlier. Like father, like sons. I always knew they'd find their way to your world, Michael. They just needed to build their own path first. As morning light filled the room, the family began planning their future together. Michael made the decision to move his office closer to the hospital until Sarah recovered. The twins shared childhood memories, filling in the gaps of their father's absence, and Sarah watched with peaceful contentment, knowing that the reunion she had hoped for all these years had finally come to life. In an ordinary hospital room, an extraordinary new chapter was beginning. A family once divided, now stronger than ever. 6 months later, the Augustines' elegant dining room was once again filled with San Francisco's elite, but this time, the gathering was for a very different occasion. Michael Bennett stood at the podium, his sons beside him, as they launched the Bennett Bridge Foundation, a joint initiative combining their talents to revolutionize educational access through technology. In the front row, Sarah sat with pride, her health much improved. She watched with tears of joy as Michael began his speech, a stark contrast to the one that had been interrupted 6 months earlier. Success, Michael began, his voice laced with emotion, is not measured by dollars or technological breakthroughs. For 25 years, I thought I had everything: wealth, recognition, influence. But I was missing the greatest fortune of all: family. He turned to his sons. Sometimes, life gives us second chances in the most unexpected ways. My sons taught me that success without love is hollow and that true wealth lies in the connections we build with others. Behind them, a screen displayed the Bennett Bridge software in action. The advanced AI-driven platform adapted to each student's learning style, breaking down barriers of language, disability, and economic status. But more than just software, it had become the very bridge that reunited their family. Alex stepped forward, gesturing toward Sarah. Our mother taught us that everyone deserves the chance to reach their full potential. She showed us, through her own example, that hard work, integrity, and perseverance matter more than privilege. Jason continued, she could have taken the easy path, used our father's name to secure our future. Instead, she gave us something far more valuable: the determination to forge our own way, and the wisdom to understand that true success comes from helping others succeed. The audience sat captivated as Michael announced that Bennett Innovations would be providing the software free of charge to underfunded schools nationwide. The twins had insisted on this condition, honoring both their mother's principles and their father's growing philanthropic spirit. After the presentation, the family gathered in a quiet corner of the Augustine, the very spot where the twins had once planned their first meeting with Michael. Sarah held her old journal, now accompanied by a new one chronicling their journey of reunion and redemption. Michael looked at his family and reflected, I spent years building technology to connect people across the world, but I never truly understood the most important connection until now. He took Sarah's hand, a simple yet powerful gesture of forgiveness, understanding, and new beginnings. Alex nodded. Success isn't about what you achieve alone, it's about lifting others up along the way. Jason added, and family isn't just about DNA or destiny. It's about choices, the choice to love, to forgive, to believe in second chances. Sarah opened the old journal one last time, revealing the first article she had ever saved about Michael's success. Beside it, she placed a fresh newspaper clipping about the Bennett Bridge Foundation, the story of a family reunited through their shared vision of making education accessible to all. She smiled. Some bridges take time to build, but once they're built, they can change everything. Outside the Augustine's windows, the San Francisco fog rolled in, but this time, it didn't separate them. It united them. A family, finally whole, measuring success not in millions of dollars, but in the millions of lives they would touch together. In the end, Michael Bennett realized his greatest achievement wasn't the empire he had built or the technology he had created. It was the legacy of love, perseverance, and compassion that Sarah had instilled in their sons, and the understanding that true wealth isn't about what you gain for yourself, but what you give to others. Because, in the end, no amount of success can compare to the simple miracle of a family finding its way back together, building bridges across the years to a future rich with love, purpose, and the kind of wealth that truly matters. Dear viewers, if this story of family, redemption, and true success touched your heart, we have many more inspiring stories waiting for you. From heartwarming reunions to life-changing moments, each video brings you authentic tales that remind us what really matters in life. Check out our other videos about incredible family discoveries, second chances, and the true meaning of success. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to join our community of storytellers and story lovers. Your support helps us continue sharing these powerful messages of hope, love, and the unexpected ways life can surprise us with joy.